today I'm making a video on how to come back from injury and the things that have helped me come back from injury in the past and the things that have helped me come back from injury recently. So just a bit of an update. I've just passed the 6-week mark of my metatarsal stress fracture. So it's feeling, back to normal now. It's feeling good again. It's feeling like I can train on it properly again. I'm alternating days in the gym on the treadmill with days outside running on the pavements, because obviously when you're running on the treadmill it's going to be less pressure on your joints and it's going to be better for the general kind of rehabilitation, so that I'm back to speed running again properly. I did my first race back the other day, which was a 5k, which I ran in 20 minutes something. So I only ran that 20 seconds slower than my current PB. Actually I think it was 21:04 and my current PB is 20:44. So that reassured me that I had not lost much fitness at all when I took time out to cross train with my broken bone in my foot. So if we get back onto my main train of thought, because it's kind of gone a bit like AWOL. So the first thing I'm going to mention when you're coming back from injury, or even when you're injured, is to remember that it's so hard to do, but to remember that you're a person with like your own strengths and qualities and other things that you like to do aside from running or aside from the other sport that you're obsessed with. Because for me, for 9 years now I've been a runner and I kind of define myself as a runner, and when I can't run, it just feels like the end of the world, and it feels like, it doesn't matter what else there is out there in the world to do or to discover or to enjoy. I just feel like if I'm not running, nothing will compare to it, which is kind of a destructive way to think. So, personally, outside of running, I am a writer. That's my job. I work for myself writing, and I also write poetry. So they're two things that I could fall back on if I wasn't able to cross train, God forbid. But obviously, I have been cross training hard to maintain my level of fitness. So yeah, I think it's important to really have some perspective and remember who you are outside of running and sport sometimes. Another thing that I think is important is to continue to nourish your body well, so that if you're particularly good at eating, better food and not drinking when you are injured, there's no reason you can't continue that through, when you're getting back into running or getting into your chosen sport. For example, when runners, I know this myself because I know not a lot of runners feel this way, not just me, feel like they can't run, they feel like they're going to put on weight, even if they cross train, they feel like nothing is like more of an effective control of weight management than running, which isn't true. I swam and I biked religiously and used the cross trainer, and I really feel like this midsection area of my stomach is like better now than it was when I was solely running, which is another reason why I think you really should not just quit all the cross training that you've been doing when you're injured, when you're back to running and when you're back to full strength. Just because when you're isolating different muscles and different muscle groups and you're working those and you're not running, it's basically like building them all up in different ways and making them stronger and giving you a different kind of endurance and different kind of strength. So that when you're back running, you can use those muscle groups and you can use that new additional strength that you have to accelerate, forward with your running. So I've just said about that. I'm reading these off the screen if you couldn't see. So the third thing I think is important is to be prepared to adapt and take it easy if you're starting to get pain or discomfort anywhere. For example, if you plan to be back by a certain date, like my metatarsal stress fracture, the kind of healing time for that was anywhere between 4 and 8 weeks, but generally they heal within 4 to 6 weeks. But you know, if you plan to be back by a certain date, and if you have races planned and things, it can be so tempting to just think, you know, I'm at that date now, things should automatically be better, which realistically sometimes isn't the way that it goes. So yeah, you just really need to adapt and be realistic. As you know, I have missed 6 marathons, 3 due to weather cancellations and 3 due to injury. But my next marathon back will be the Shrewsbury Road Marathon at the end of June. So realistically, I feel like I'm going to, you know, build back up and train for that, and I'll be able to run it well, which is a lot better feeling than sort of going into something half-hearted and thinking, you know, am I going to finish? Am I going to make my foot worse? Am I going to be setting myself up for different injuries because my running form will suffer, and I'm going to compensate by running a different way because I'm injured. So another thing to think about is to not just write off your injury while you're healed. So a lot of people, you know, they feel like injuries are really bad luck or bad karma or something. But when you're back, you know, running again strong, some people just forget that they had an injury and they don't get to the root cause of it. So whether it's because, you know, you're wearing the wrong shoes, or your form's bad, or you've got like poor biomechanics, you really should take the time to assess those things and you know, talk to other runners or doctors, or see a biomechanics specialist or a foot specialist, so you don't make the same mistake again. So if you've had more than one stress fracture, for example, like me, I've had 3 stress fractures over the years, it's a good idea to get a bone density scan done to see that your bones are strong and healthy, and that your fracture was a case of overtraining, not because you have weak bones. So that's something that I'm going to be looking into next week. I have an appointment at the fracture clinic. Even though, you know, I know that my foot is fully healed, I'm not confident knowing that I have had 3 fractures on the left side of my body, and I want to get to the root cause of that, because sometimes you know, it can just be a case of overtraining, and sometimes it can be because you're too low in weight, especially women. So I forgot what it's called now, but there's a term to describe when women athletes miss their periods. I think the correct medical term is amenorrhea, but I forget what the athletic term for it is. But it's basically where your menstrual system is all kind of, you know, out of sync and you miss periods, which can be because, you know, you're too low in weight, which then leads to, I think it's a decrease in estrogen, which can lead to stress fractures and weaker bones. Fortunately for me, I don't have that problem. You know, I get like normal periods, and I don't consider myself to be like on the really skinny side of running. I'm, you know, between 5'5" and 5'6" and weigh about 8.5 stone, maybe like 8, 9, 8, 10 sometimes, depending on like how much running I'm doing, like, and the intensity. So fortunately that's not been a problem for me, but I know that it can be a problem for other runners. So another thing is to work all the positive changes you've made while being injured into your new schedule. So if you're doing things like taking calcium supplements like I am, or stretching more, or reading more inspirational books, or just being more optimistic about things, make sure you carry that on when you're back into your sport, so that you can look back on your injury at all the things that you've learned, and not just look back on it, you know, as a negative and depressing time that you couldn't train. So I hope that that's helped people with their return from injury, and just a few things that I do, you know, mentally to help with that kind of time. So I just thought I'd quickly show you how I do tie my hair up for running, because a few people have requested this. So especially today, it's really like windy and rainy out, and I can't stand it, like when my hair is going everywhere and flicking my face when I'm running. So to tie my hair up, what I generally do is I put it back in like just a long ponytail, and then I will plait it. I should have done this before actually because it's going to take ages. So I just put it into like a normal plait. It always amazes me how long this takes because I never really think about it like when I'm actually doing it myself. So if you just keep going down, obviously if you have shorter hair it's not going to take this long. Bear with me. And then so I just plait it like at the end. I usually do it a bit lower than this because if I do it this high sometimes it has a tendency to come out and that's annoying as well. And now the magic part is I take it from like the base and I wrap it, so I wrap the whole of the plait round the top like this. So you just keep like wrapping it round. And then you just pull like a band over the top and secure it, and you can pull the bun out like half on itself and then just like secure it like that. And so that should, you know, stay in place for all your workouts, and looks quite chic as well, I think. Okay, I hope people are still finding these videos useful, and be sure to comment on things that you would like to see in the future. Okay, bye.